Welcome to the program, friend. We are going to show you some more clips of what would Muhammad do concerning anti-Semitism and analyzing President Trump's speech given in Saudi Arabia. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Friend, I greet you in Jesus' name, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, fully God, fully man. Let me play for you a clip of episode 5 from our documentary series called What Would Muhammad Do? This is on anti-Semitism. Almost every single word you're going to hear comes from the mouth of Muhammad, as recorded by his most respected historians.
The Quran darkly declares that this atrocity was the will of Allah.
And those of the people of the book who aided them, Allah did take them down from their strongholds and cast terror into their hearts, so that some ye slew and some ye made prisoners, and he made you heirs of their lands, their houses, and their goods, and of land which you had not frequented before, and Allah has power over all things.
Today, deceiving Muslim propagandists will tell us that this is how enemies were dealt with in those days. No, it was not common to kill teenage boys and old men who could not so much as carry a sword. And if Muhammad was the prophet of God, then he was doing Allah's will, not mimicking the evil behaviors of his day. Because Muhammad did this to the Jews, Muslim terrorists believe they should do the same. The Jews who had escaped earlier to Khaybar, they were about to find a similar fate. Muhammad and his men journeyed to Khaybar, about 110 miles from Medina, to launch an unprovoked attack. Muhammad's son-in-law, Ali, asked Muhammad,
Allah's messenger, on what issue should I fight with the people? Thereupon, he said,
Fight with them until they bear testimony to the fact that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger.
They could swear allegiance to Muhammad with a sword at their throats and thereby save themselves, or they could face Muhammad's sword. Muhammad knew they were not going to convert. So without warning and without justification, Muhammad and his men arrived. Muhammad cried out,
Allahu Akbar, Khaybar is destroyed.
The apostle seized the property piece by piece and conquered the forts one by one as he came to them. The apostle took captives from them, among whom was Safiya. The apostle chose Safiya for himself.
This is why Muslim terrorists yell Allah Akbar before they attack and kill their enemies. It's what Muhammad would do. Safiya was married to Kinana, one of the chiefs of Khaybar, who was the tribe's treasurer. Kinana was dragged before Muhammad. Muhammad demanded the gold. Kinana told him there was none to be had. Sadly, another Jew informed Muhammad that Kinana was hiding the wealth at a nearby ruin. Muhammad told Kinana,
You know that if we find it in your possession, I shall kill you.
Kinana said yes and prepared to die. Muhammad's men found some of the gold. Muhammad demanded Kinana surrender the rest. Again, Kinana bravely refused. So Muhammad gave orders to his men.
Torture him until you extract what he has.
So he kindled a fire with flint and steel on his chest until he was nearly dead. The apostle delivered him to Muhammad, son of Maslama, and he struck off his head.
Muhammad had Kinana tortured, not for military information, not so that Muhammad could save the lives of his soldiers or his family. He had him tortured for money.
I've got to take a break. We're going to play one more clip when we come back. Don't go away. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Muhammad. We are going to look at Muhammad's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Muhammad's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Muhammad and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. If you want to understand why Muslim nations refuse to acknowledge Israel's right to exist, and why President Trump's flight from Saudi Arabia to Israel may have been the first flight that's ever been made, all you have to do is read the words of Muhammad or listen to them like we're about to let you do in this clip.
After Kinana was dead, Muhammad took the man's beautiful young bride, Safiya, for a sex slave. Khaybar was brutally defeated. Muhammad divided the rest of the women and spoils amongst his men. He later decided to make Safiya one of his wives. Other Jews in a nearby town surrendered unconditionally. All their homes and lands became the personal property of Muhammad. He allowed them to remain as sharecroppers on the condition that they could be expelled at any time by the Muslims. Muhammad had become a very wealthy man. On his deathbed, Muhammad instructed his companions,
Do not leave two religions on the Arabian Peninsula.
That meant that no other religion except Islam would be allowed on Arabian soil, which is the law of Saudi Arabia up to this very day. After Muhammad's death, a handful of Jews converted under duress. All the rest of the Jews and Christians were permanently expelled from Arabia. Their properties were confiscated. Muhammad's hatred of the Jews never subsided. And that hatred burns today in the hearts of his most devoted followers. Consider Hamas, who have killed hundreds of Jewish men, women, and children. Their charter declares,
Our struggle against the Jews is very great and very serious. Hamas is but one squadron that should be supported by more and more squadrons from the vast Arab and Islamic world until the enemy, Israel, is vanquished and Allah's victory is realized.
Their charter also declares their motive is devotion to Allah and their desire to imitate Muhammad.
Allah is its target, the Prophet is its model, the Quran its constitution, jihad is its path, and death for the sake of Allah is the loftiest of its wishes.
Hamas again quoted Muhammad in his founding charter to justify their perpetual violence against Jews.
The day of judgment, the last hour, will not come about until Muslims fight the Jews, killing the Jews, when the Jew will hide behind stones and trees. The stones and trees will say, O Muslims, O Abdullah, there is a Jew behind me. Come and kill him.
Some Muslim terrorists claim that their hatred of the nation of Israel is based on the Israeli army's treatment of Palestinians or Muslims who live inside of occupied territories. They also claim that because 2 mosques are built on the site of Solomon's temple, the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa, that Muslims should own and control all of Jerusalem and modern Israel, free of any Jews. These reasons may be partly true, but the full truth is this: the unquenchable hatred of Muslim terrorists toward Jews was not born yesterday. It is part of the very fiber of Islam, born in the heart of Muhammad 1,400 years ago.
I've got to take a break, friend. When we come back, I'm going to continue analyzing President Trump's speech that he gave in Saudi Arabia on the weekend that just passed us. Don't go away. Friend, thank you for being a part of this program. If you like what you're hearing and seeing, you will enjoy my books. The problem is, a couple of them are out of print. Operation Rescue, which is about the group and the movement that I founded, and The Judgment of God, which is self-explanatory. They're out of print, but you can get them online as a PDF. You can read them on your device. In fact, if you want to save money and you don't want an actual book, all of my books are available at our website as a PDF, and they're really inexpensive. So go to the website that you see on your screen, voiceofresistance.com or randallterry.com, or if you want to call to get any more information, call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700. God bless you, and thank you for your support. Welcome back, friend. We're looking at President Trump's speech that he delivered in Saudi Arabia on the weekend, praising the good, showing the parts that are just not going to happen. I continue. For our part, America is committed to adjusting our strategies to meet evolving threats and new facts. We will discard those strategies that have not worked, and we will apply new approaches informed by experience and judgment. We are adopting a principled realism rooted in common values and shared interests. This is policy wonk talk. I have a master's degree in international relations, and that's what this is from. Realism is a school of thought which was codified in recent times by a man named Morgenthau. Hans Morgenthau, I believe is his first name, and he harkens back to the Greeks, basically saying, look, in the real world, it's about power. Powerful nations do to weak nations what they want because they can. It's not about what's right. It's not about what's wrong. We're not going to even look at ideology. And that makes a lot of people gag. Now, that was adopted after World War II by Americans. It wasn't before. We used to have foreign policy based on principle, justice, not power, but principle. And Washington talked about it. We got involved in World War I and World War II because of it. And then Morgenthau came along. Henry Kissinger really made it popular. And that's when we ditched Taiwan and embraced communist China. It's real politics, Mr. President. About power and money. It's disgusting. It's vile. So, and it's pagan. It is pagan. So by them saying principled realism means that we're going to have principles mixed in with it. Values, rooted in common values and shared interests. Well, we're not really sure what those are, because if it's democracy, Saudi Arabia doesn't have it. If it's freedom of speech, freedom of religion, Saudi Arabia doesn't have it. So I'm not even sure what this means. Maybe it means the common goal of just killing terrorists. We'll let you terrorize your own populace. You can oppress Christianity and Judaism in your own borders. You can enslave Christians. You can martyr them. That's your business. But if together we can kill the terrorists that go outside of your border, then that's a shared goal. It's disgusting. Our friends will never question our support, and our enemies will never doubt our determination. Our partnerships will advance security through stability, not through radical disruption. We will make decisions based on real-world outcomes, not inflexible ideology. See, this is realism. And by the way, we just sold $110 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia. On this trip, President Trump cut the deal, and that will include over the next 10 years another $300 billion in arms. That can't make the Israelis very happy. I continue. We will be guided by the lessons of experience, not the confines of rigid thinking, and wherever possible, we will seek gradual reforms, not sudden intervention. That's him saying to the Saudis, don't worry. We know that you abuse women. We know that you suppress Christianity. We're just looking for bones every once in a while. Gradual reforms. Look what we've done with China. We've given them most favored nation status, and they killed Christians by the thousands there. I continue. We must seek partners, not perfection, to make allies of all who share our goals. Above all, Americans seek peace, not war. The problem is, what are our goals? That's the problem. And I guarantee you that President Trump's advisors in the Pentagon, they don't share the goals I have. If they did, they would be pushing like crazy to get full energy independence. There's a goal, because then we don't have to kowtow to any Muslim nation. We don't have to bow our knee to any Middle Eastern oil. That's a goal I could get behind. Then if we want to say, hey, we're not going to let you treat women that way. If you don't stop doing what you're doing, we're going to have a righteous war against you. We can't do that right now because we need their oil. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to see how, sadly, President Trump agreed to let Iran be made the boogeyman outside the room. And it played right into the hands of the Sunnis and the Sunni terrorists. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life. Best-selling author Dr. Bill Warner said, What Would Mohammed Do is the best movie series, TV production on the life of Muhammad and Islamic terrorism that has ever been produced. Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700, or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. For those of you who are political activists, I have 2 books that are must-reads for you, and you need them in your library. 1, The Book That Made America, How the Bible Formed Our Nation, and 2, Confrontational Politics. I love both of these books. The book by Jerry Newcomb comes highly recommended by Ann Coulter. It gives you the ammunition so that you can say and see for yourself that the Bible was indeed the foundation of this republic. We weren't built to be a secular nation. We were built to be a God-fearing nation on the principles of Christianity as laid out in the scriptures. And confrontational politics, this puts to rest forever the lie that we should be nicer than Jesus when it comes to political activism. If we're going to win, we have to be confrontational. Only $25 for both books. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700. All right, I've got a lot to tell you in this segment because President Trump really goes after Islam in this. Whether he knew he was doing it or not, I don't know, but here we go. Muslim nations must be willing to take on the burden if we are going to defeat terrorism and send its wicked ideology into oblivion. That's a polite way of saying into hell. Now, if a Muslim is listening in the room and he says he thinks that what Muhammad did and the early caliphs did is terrorism, then his back is going to stiffen. He's going to feel rebuked. That means honestly confronting the crisis of Islamist extremism and the Islamist terror groups it inspires And it means standing together against the murder of innocent Muslims, the oppression of women, the persecution of Jews, and the slaughter of Christians. He is on a roll now. I am loving this. This is a full-on rebuke to the leaders in this room. And this is meant for consumption for Americans and for Europeans. You can bet your bottom dollar that none of these clips were played in any of the Muslim world. And I continue. And by the way, honestly confronting the crisis of Islamic extremism and the Islamic terrorist groups it inspires, this means we have to look at Islam. That's his way of saying to them, hey guys, look inside your holy books. Look inside the ideology. Look inside of what is inspiring these people and then deal with it. Now he knows that he may or may not know that they know that he's asking them to turn their back on historic Orthodox Islam. Listen to this. This is awesome. Religious leaders must make this absolutely clear. Barbarism will deliver you no glory. Piety to evil will bring you no dignity. If you choose the path of terror, your life will be empty, your life will be brief, and your soul will be condemned. This is a message to the Egyptian leaders of Al-Aqsa, Al-Azhar, the Muslim school in Cairo. This is a message to the imams, to the so-called scholars like Yusuf al-Qaradawi, the Muslim Brotherhood. No glory. You're not going to get 72 virgins. You're going to go to hell. Your soul will be destroyed. That's what he's saying. So he's asking them to renounce one of the central core principles of Islam, namely, that jihad brings glory. Death in jihad brings eternal life. He's going right at it. I'm loving this. But no discussion of stamping out this threat would be complete without mentioning the government that gives terrorists all three: safe harbor, financial backing, and the social standing needed for recruitment. It is a regime that it is responsible for so much instability in the region. I'm speaking, of course, of Iran. From Lebanon to Iraq to Yemen, Iran funds, arms, and trains terrorists, militias, and other extremist groups that spread destruction and chaos across the region. For decades, Iran has fueled the fires of sectarian conflict and terror. It is a government that openly speaks of mass murder, vowing the destruction of Israel, death to America, and ruin for many leaders and nations in this room. All right, I'm running out of time. I had to get in this stuff about Iran because Iran is Shiite. Now, the difference between Saudi Arabia and Iran is that Iran, the government itself, writes the checks. It's a state sponsor of terrorism. Even though the Saudis spend more money on terrorism, it's coming from private sources primarily. Okay? That's the difference. And therein lies the ability to have hypocrisy. Tragically, what President Trump did was he played the division card, Shiite versus Sunni. If Iran was a Sunni nation instead of a Shiite nation, there would be way warmer relations with them, with all the nations represented in that room that President Trump was talking to. But because they're Shiites, the Sunni Muslims of that room, Saudi Arabia and company, are only all too glad for the Americans to throw down against Iran, because they fear Iran will bring violence to them. Part of the 1400-year civil war inside of Islam, Sunni versus Shiite. All right, well, I'm thankful that President Trump went because he needs to go. I wish that they would have consulted with me on some aspects of this speech because I could have made it better. I'm happy with the way it ended, saying that we need to tell them that their souls will be condemned. But friends, we need to understand that square one, or very close to square one, in our fight against Islamic terrorism is to extricate ourselves from all Muslim crude. Okay? Then we can deal with each of those nations exactly as we want to, based on principled realism, putting principle first.